welcome to this episode of the Lehigh Valley with Love podcast. I'm your host, George Wacker, and today we're on location in West Allentown at this year's Society of the Arts Showcase House entitled Greenleaf. Society of the Arts, SOTA, is a 501c3 nonprofit cultural organization founded in 1964 with a mission to support the Allentown Art Museum's presentation of outstanding artistic programs. Arguably their most famous and visible event, the Show House, takes place every 2 years in the Lehigh Valley, where stagers, designers, landscapers, and more get to share their fashions and visions. The Show House was unable to take place during COVID, so this year is especially important to the organization, and the excitement while we were recording was palpable. The event runs April 30th through May 15th, and you can visit sotapa.org for more information. Today, we're joined by Max Weintraub, Allentown Art Museum's president and CEO, Valerie Johnson, the current SOTA president, Jill Stevens, the 2022 SOTA Showhouse co-chair, and Diane McConnell, 2022 SOTA Showhouse co-chair. Big thank you to our sponsors. New sponsor, made possible in Lehigh Valley. The Lehigh Valley is rich with possibilities, a proud heritage, a bright future that has long attracted makers, innovators, and those with great vision. Everything you need to create the life you want on your terms. Vibrant downtowns, charming main streets with surprises around every corner, and lots of open spaces to explore. Live, work, learn, play, discover all that's made possible in the Lehigh Valley at lehighvalleymadepossible.com. A big thank you to ArtsQuest. Go to artsquest.org to be sure you find out everything that's going on with them this summer. Of course, our friends at Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub, mollysbethlehem.com, and Michael Bernadyn with Remax Realty. Find Mike and you'll find your next home. Okay, let's get into it with the Society of the Arts Showcase House, Greenleaf. Okay, welcome. We're here in Allentown. I'm going to give everybody a chance to introduce themselves. We're inside this year's SOTA house, which is Greenleaf, and I feel very in the way. There's so many designers. There's so much going on here. They're taking photographs in the kitchen. So, could we start by everybody introducing themselves? So,
sure.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Val Johnson. I'm the president of SOTA. I'm finishing my 2-year term coming up, so it's been a lot of fun.
Right, during COVID too.
Yes.
We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
During COVID, so it was interesting. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Diane McConnell. I am the co-chair for the SOTA Show House this year.
I'm Jill Stevens. I'm the SOTA co-chair and also fundraising chair.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Max Weintraub. I'm the president and CEO of the Allentown Art Museum.
Which is what SOTA is all about. So let's kind of get through what exactly does the Society of the Arts do before we get into the history. We're here today, and the funds that are raised through this are going back to the Allentown Art Museum.
Right.
So can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so SOTA is an organization. We have about 200 members. 50 active and 150-ish that we call sustainers, who are kind of our long-term members. Mm-hmm. And our basic mission is to support the Allentown Art Museum. We do that by volunteering in the museum. We spend a lot of volunteer hours, hands-on in the museum, but we also do fundraising. And that money goes back to support the museum. We have a SOTA Print Fund, which is an art acquisition fund, which the museum manages. We have an education endowment that supports the education programs, and then we also give money to special projects that the museum may have. We've funded free Sundays, we funded special exhibitions, that kind of thing. So.
This is kind of, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but this is one that I knew about before I even knew what the organization was. I was in a SOTA house that was in Bethlehem, I think 7 or 8 years ago. So what about this particular event is so special and that you think really attracts people or gets their attention? And anyone can jump in too.
The show house, it's funny, I am also the admissions chair for SOTA, and most of the people who join SOTA, when you ask them how did you hear about SOTA, they'll say, I've been to a show house, and actually that's my experience as well. I moved here about 30 years ago, and I went to a show house, and I've only been a SOTA member for about 5 years because I didn't really have time before that, but that's how I knew about SOTA. So the show house is special. We've had 17 of them since 1974 or 76, something like that. So this is our 17th show house, and it's our largest fundraiser that we do.
And for somebody maybe like me who might not be as familiar with what exactly goes on in a show house, what is it? I mean, for the people who are watching and for people who can't see, there's a lot of activity going on. Like I had mentioned when we opened, what goes on here and what is the purpose for when somebody buys a ticket and walks through?
So my name is kind of out there with a lot of the advertising, and I'm getting a lot of phone calls. And people are so excited to be able to come back to the show house because we haven't had one, I think, in 4 years. So people just love to see the transformation, what the house, well, they won't be able to see it beforehand, but maybe some photos, if some of the designers have photos in the rooms, but just the transformation of the house. And kind of like a DIY, everybody's kind of into a little bit of DIY, and they just get ideas for their own homes. And people love it. They really do.
That's what I'm saying, even, I don't know what ideas I can bring back, but it was just walking through like, wow, that makes so much sense. There was one room upstairs that just, the way that they stage these rooms and the way that they design them are wonderful. Max, can you talk about SOTA? I know that you're relatively new to your position at the Allentown Art Museum, but I'm sure that you're very aware of how important SOTA is for the Allentown Art Museum. Can you talk a little bit about your relationship with them?
Yeah, of course. And I'm excited. This will be my first SOTA show house since I started about 1.5 years ago in the middle of COVID. So there hasn't been one, and it's been this sort of mythical thing that I've heard about, and now it's here. So I'm really excited for Friday and for everything that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that attracted me to the Allentown Art Museum and to the job and to this area is the backing and the strength of the community that's centered on the museum, and then more broadly in the valley. And I think one of the big parts of the museum's history is SOTA. And when I was learning about the museum, and as I've learned more since I began, the museum was founded during the Depression by a bunch of civic-minded leaders, and it was really founded on the idea of community. And I think SOTA is one of the finest examples of that community in the way that it supports and backs the museum through thick and thin. And we just came through a really challenging time, and SOTA has been there, and they support. As Val was saying, there's financial support, which is always welcome to expand the breadth and the depth of our holdings, but also they support us with countless volunteer hours that make our programs possible, that make the expansion of our programs possible, so that we're constantly serving our community in the ways that our community wants and needs us to be there for them.
We have talked about the pandemic multiple times. You're alluding to it. And for the SOTA showcase is every 2 years, and so you had mentioned it wasn't. So was there a cancellation during the pandemic, and how did the organization? I know that everyone had their own different ways of how they had to pivot, right? How were you able to do that?
So we had not procured a house for doing a SOTA show house 2 years ago, and that's always kind of by chance if we can find a homeowner that's willing to lend us their home. In this particular case, it's one of our own members who is moving, so they were going to be vacating anyway. So we didn't have a house lined up, but then when, March of 2020, we would have been right in the thick of it. So it was kind of a blessing that, we didn't have something.
Right.
And so we kind of pivoted, and Jill and her committee came up with just brilliant ideas of how to, do fundraising without our usual events. We did a virtual wine tasting during the summer.
What do you just buy it and then take it home and?
Yeah, so we had a wine distributor who worked with us, and then we did a big Zoom meeting.
Three of us.
It's so popular. You gotta keep going.
That's right. So that was great. We put together an art auction, which we had great support for that. We got donated pieces of art.
Raised thousands of dollars with both events.
So we just had to find things that didn't involve being in person,
Right.
Which I think we did a fabulous job.
Yeah.
Oh, and we have a Luncheon with the Authors event every fall, and we did have that lined up, and we quickly pivoted, and in 2020 we did it on Zoom.
And again, it's not
It was just as successful
Yeah.
as it is when we do it in person.
right. I think a lot of the people I talk to who have gone through this and who have pivoted like that and done some of those events, they find, I don't want to go back there, but I found a lot of interesting things that I can take from that time and
Right.
like a wine Zoom tasting or something to that
Absolutely.
effect. I don't want to put any of you on the spot, but I was reading the history of the Society of the Arts website. I don't know how, it's very long. I don't know if you guys are required to read that, but I was writing notes and I was only through like the 60s. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to ask them to do this. But
Here's the history.
to me, it's so interesting that an organization, some of them have a lot of turnover, and you could go to one and 5 years later it's another person leading it and they don't have the same kind of culture. But to me it seems like your history is well preserved and you guys seem to celebrate it. Can you talk a little bit about that without having to go down the rabbit hole? But I know that it was the one note that I had, that it was founded when the director of the art museum in '61 and his wife Betty were delayed in DC. Do you know that story?
Well, my mother-in-law was in the founding class of SOTA back in 1961.
Oh, wow. All right.
So
Your legacy.
Yeah, there's a few generations in SOTA. But it was kind of just an arm to the museum. They did a lot of entertaining at the museum. She talks about all the big silver bowls and all the food that they brought in, a lot different than today's entertaining. But again, they were just there to assist the museum. They were an arm to the museum. And it's just grown and grown and grown ever since 1961.
And what are if you become a member, what are some of the things that you can maybe expect to experience? You said you moved here 30 years ago and kind of said, hey, this is something I may want to be interested in. What are some of those? I'm sure they're not only helping the Allentown Art Museum, but I'm sure you meet people with a lot long-lasting relationships and that. Can you talk about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, I moved here a long time ago and heard about SOTA and from the show house, but I've only been a SOTA member now for 5 or 6 years. But I am the admissions chair as well. So when people join, I have the opportunity to tell them what they can expect. So we have several general meetings a year, and Max attends those, and we go over our business. We have a formal SOTA board, and we have 10 standing committees. Actually, that's going to be a little different going forward with the number of committees, but we have 10 standing committees. We have some general committees and some educational committees, and people who join SOTA have to go through an apprentice year, and they learn about SOTA because there's a lot to learn, and they each choose a committee or two committees. One committee if they're a professional person, two committees if they're not presently working, and and they work on those committees, and they're they can expect to help with our fundraisers, sign up for shifts at the show house, help with Luncheon with the Authors, and that kind of thing.
Right. And we're raising this money. It's all for the Allentown Art Museum. Can we talk a little bit about why the Allentown Art Museum is so important? And that too, Max, was something during COVID. There were many different things I know that the museum was doing virtually and continuing to market, and now it's fantastic we can get back there. But can you talk a little bit about that? Why is it so important to you? And then we'll talk about the museum itself. Why is it so important to you to support that particular institution in Allentown?
I think what's interesting about our organization is our members come from such a variety of places, careers, backgrounds, But what brings us all together is just a love of art, whether, we have experience with it or just have enjoyed it as a visitor, and also supporting the community. That's kind of our common bond, is a love of art and the community, and the Allentown Art Museum is the perfect place to kind of bring those two things together. We have social events that it's an easy way to meet people. I moved here maybe 15 years ago.
Okay. Right.
And most of the friends I have, I've met through SOTA and the Art Museum. So it was just a great place for me to land.
And you talked about community, but also education is important. Can you talk a little bit about some of them, the education endowment, and also I think the SOTA print fund as well?
So Max can probably talk about the endowment and what that money goes for.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on what Val was saying, though, I think that, the landscape has changed a lot since the 60s, the landscape of art and community and philanthropy. But what makes SOTA so great, I think, is how they've adapted and evolved. And, we're all striving to maintain relevancy, especially an art museum that's going on 90 years and, an organization like SOTA that's been around for 60. And I think that it's been a wonderful testament to their passions, which is art and community and education, which is at the core of our mission as well. That makes it such a wonderful fit, but also just explains why SOTA continues to be one of the most meaningful organizations associated with the museum.
Yeah, and I would imagine during the pandemic, having them as a helpful arm to continue to get that message out and to continue to have wine Zooms.
Absolutely.
But still, we joke, but it is like we gotta catch the attention. We need.
Right.
That's the time when everybody was saying, "Hey, look at me, we need help," and if you're able to not only do it but do it well and keep people entertained.
SOTA was go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, and we wanted to keep our members engaged, so they didn't go find something else to spend their time with, because there was that whole piece of it that, you don't want people to forget and lose interest, and then.
Well, it wouldn't, like during a time like the pandemic, we've never really been through one. I would imagine a lot of people would then reconsider maybe where they're donating some of their funds because they don't have as many, or they're worried, so they're not as generous as they have been in the past just because of that. Did you encounter any of that as well, or?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of apprehension. The museum has been open since August of 2020, so just a handful of months after the pandemic began, the museum reopened to be there for the community, and we couldn't have done that without SOTA's support. So they were there for us when we needed them. And we have remained open largely without incident or interruption. And since the beginning of 2021, there's been 35,000 people that have come to the museum. So I think museums are always filling a need for their community, and that might change and evolve. But I think those numbers speak pretty clearly that during COVID especially, places like the Allentown Art Museum served a need, whether it's respite or sanctuary or escape, or just online virtual programming and in-person programming for families that have been cooped up with kids that couldn't go to school. You're raising your hand. I know many friends who were pulling their hair out, and so we had educational programming going on and chalk your walk programming and just things that can be educational and entertaining and be a distraction for people when they needed it. And so we'll continue to be there moving forward as new challenges present themselves. But you have to adapt, and I think both organizations, SOTA and the Allentown Art Museum, in retrospect, did an amazing job of evolving their programming, evolving their outreach, and the ways that we support the community.
And I think there's something to be said for an organization so old, so storied, to be able to say, okay, we're going to do what we need to do to be able to evolve and handle that. I've met many organizations that didn't want to budge as much, during that time. And we're sitting here now. I feel still somewhat weird, like I'm in somebody else's home, and there's you can hear there's stuff going on, all around us. And we're coming out of 2 years where this was like illegal. We could have gotten in trouble if we were doing this.
Yeah, right.
But you're excited to be back. This is a 2-week event, so let's talk about this particular event within this home. I think you talked a little bit about why you chose this home, but maybe, I don't know what else you can say. Maybe do we talk about the neighborhood? Do we talk about why you chose this house in particular? Can you talk to some of that?
I think availability was number one.
Doesn't hurt, right?
But also, West Allentown is a really comfortable neighborhood, a lot of foot traffic, a lot of, in Allentown, it's a neighborhood that people are interested in, always interested in seeing inside homes.
Yep.
We try to rotate, like you said, you had seen one in Bethlehem.
Yeah.
So
right by City Hall, and I can't remember exactly, but I remember going in like, this is so neat. I would never been in this house, otherwise, unless maybe I knew them.
Right. So we try to pick an area that we think people will be interested in coming to tour. Along with the tour, and Jill and Diane might want to talk about, we have a lot of other special events going
I'm
on
looking at them.
during the 2 weeks.
So let's say some dates here. They are available in the show notes, but the official opening of this, I don't want to say it, so you go ahead.
Okay, so the official opening is April 30th, and it runs through May 15th. We are having a preview party that is ticketed April 29th, but I'm happy to report that it is sold out.
That's great.
Yes. And we are open Monday and Tuesdays from 10 to 4, Wednesday closed, Thursday and Friday 10 to 8, Saturday and Sunday 10 to 5.
And when you walk through, I mean, I think it's kind of self-explanatory, you're going through each, but do they have the opportunity maybe to talk to any designers? I know that in here, as I'm reading, there's not only designers, but landscapers and other people who are helping make this happen.
So designers will be here periodically, so it's maybe by chance that they will be in their rooms. And we will have, Diane, do you want to talk about some of the special events?
Yes, we have several special events that are going on during the run of the show house, and there are actually a couple of designers that are doing garden chats. So if somebody happens to be here on that day, some of the designers will be giving presentations. But as Jill said, some of them will be in their rooms and people can ask questions. And not every day, but it'll be kind of intermittent. We also have a luncheon and fashion show, and that's a ticketed event, and that is not taking place here. We actually looked at that option, but it didn't seem to work out. We were worried about rain and all of that. So that's an off-site event, but it's a fashion show featuring Laura Bly Designs. She has a boutique in Bethlehem, and a luncheon. It's at Lehigh Country Club, and that is on May 14th. And if you buy your tickets in advance to that fashion show and luncheon, you also get a ticket to the show house that you can use anytime during that 2-week run. We have another event that is called Greenleaf Garden Brews, and that is a craft beer tasting night. And we're going to have lawn games, and we have a couple of breweries that are coming and letting people taste their beer. There'll be a food truck here.
For anybody who says that SOTA's, I don't know, hoity-toity, they have food trucks and lawn games.
That's
I'm
right.
just saying.
That's right. No, we're not as hoity-toity as you.
But that would be happening here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right on the premises. That is on May 6th.
Okay. And I also see there's shopping opportunities at Boutique in the Alley.
Yes.
Is that in?
That's right.
It's right
in the house. Yes, there's a garage, a detached garage that one of our members, Sharon Kimberly, and actually two of our members, Sharon Kimberly and Willie Bird, have transformed into a beautiful boutique. Also,
and it's gently used
treasures.
Yeah, gently used treasures.
Mostly from SOTA members.
Yeah, and I was reading you have other different ticketing type events, but they can find this information on the website, which is
SOTAPA.org. SOTAPA.org.
Yes, it's not SOTA, like the drink.
No.
SOTA, SOTA. pa.org, and of course those links are in the show notes. This, I know, is your kickoff event, kind of back. We're happy to be back, but also, what are we looking forward to as we get into the time of the year where people go downtown for Allentown Arts Walk stuff, and we're out there. What does SOTA and the Allentown Art Museum have coming up this summer that we can look forward to?
Well, at the museum, we have Third Thursday activities. We have expanded weekend educational programming. And I think most exciting is in August, we'll be having a reopening of some of our recently renovated art galleries, where we'll have a brand new reinstallation of the art, and it's the American galleries, and it'll allow us to better tell the inherently diverse story of American art. So there'll be a lot of newly acquired works on view, some of which has been supported by SOTA, alongside some works that have been long buried in our permanent collection that rarely see the light of day, and
that's fun,
along with some familiar favorites. So that's something that's really exciting. And in conjunction with that, the museum will also we'll be celebrating the fact that the museum will be going admission free as an institution for forever. So this is a fundamental change to our DNA. So some things in our DNA don't change, like SOTA's relationship to the museum, but something major like eliminating that barrier to entry. We'll be celebrating that in August alongside the permanent collection reinstallation. So
well, you heard it here first, I hope, or maybe not. But that is fantastic, because that is, especially with the location of Allentown in the center of the city. It's great to be able to allow everyone to experience. And talking a little bit about geography, I'm assuming you don't have to live in Allentown to be a member of SOTA. So if you're somebody who's interested in the arts anywhere beyond the Lehigh Valley,
absolutely,
are there things that you can still participate in, even if clearly donations, I'm sure. Are there ways that people can participate even if they're not members, or
of SOTA?
Yeah, like, can they make donations? Is something?
Well, we would never turn down a donation. But in order to be a SOTA member, there is a certain time commitment.
I would imagine, yeah, right. But for the, I'm sorry, we were talking about any other. I know that we're talking about this one in general, but do you have any other events throughout the summer, just for people who maybe can't make this one, or for looking for other things?
I wanted to expand upon what Max was talking about, educational programs that we have that have expanded. We have something called Art Ventures, and that is a program that is run by SOTA. That's one of our committees. It's run by, actually, the museum runs it. It's an educational program. But SOTA, Art Ventures, SOTA assists with that.
I've been at one of those.
You've been at one of those? Okay. Yeah, I didn't mean SOTA runs it. It's run by the museum.
Sure.
SOTA supports it. And we have volunteers that go every weekend. It's Saturday and Sunday. It's always been on just Sunday afternoons, but now it's going to be on Saturdays and Sundays. So families can take their children to Art Ventures and do projects. Usually, something that's based on one of the exhibits. And actually, Art Ventures has transformed into not only a place to make art, but kind of a maker space. I don't know if you want to talk more about the maker space up there.
Yeah, well, this summer we'll also be debuting a handful of STEAM maker stations, so focusing on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So there'll be,
like hands-on type.
There'll be 3D printers where you can explore that technology. There'll be art conservation stations, and so a lot of different things all happening in Artways, as Diane's saying, for the kiddos and their caregivers.
All right.
Yeah, and they can do a treasure hunt. The kids can come and, even the youngest of kids can go around the museum and do our treasure hunt, where they get a piece of paper and they look for pieces of art that they can discuss with their parents, and then at the end they can choose a treasure from our treasure box, which is a Crayola item.
My favorite thing for my daughter to do is ride that turtle.
Oh, the turtle.
Artie the turtle.
Yeah, she's like, we go there, do that, and then whatever activity, but we have to make sure that we handle that first.
It's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's the most fun part. I mean, tons of people do
Absolutely.
that. So then I'll come back to that. And then any other summer events, again, it's all on the website, but just any other things.
Another thing that we're kind of back ramping up are docent-led tours.
Okay.
And those have been kind of on hiatus for a while.
Sure.
So I'm on the docent committee, and we've been working the last few months on, well, we're training a new group of docents. You know, we do that every few years. But sort of ramping up for increased number of tours for the public. And those traditionally were Sundays. I think we're expanding that a bit with the thought that there's going to be more visitors throughout the week once it's free admission, although it's still only Thursday through Sunday that we're open, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and of course, all that information can be found on the Allentown Art Museum's website
correct.
as well. We have that in the show notes.
The other thing that we're going to be doing over the summer is we're getting ready for our next fundraiser, which doesn't take place until October, which is Luncheon with the Authors. But we will soon be announcing the 3 books. We have 3 books and 3 authors, and they come to the Lehigh Country Club, and they they talk about their books, and people can come and have lunch and listen to this presentation. And over the summer, people can read those books, and we also have something called Wine and Words, where it's almost like a book club. Yeah, you see the
I like it.
Yeah.
We're on the same wavelength. Yeah.
So we have a book club for each book. That we meet at somebody's home and we talk about the book and we drink wine and. So that's coming up, and people can look at the website for that, to the SOTA website, to get more information on what books they should read so that they can buy tickets and attend Luncheon with the Authors in October.
And this is our 11th year?
I think so.
I think this is something that's...
Those 2 years, they're kind of like crammed together. And I don't know. I mean, did that happen a couple years ago? I can't remember. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you guys for allowing me to come in here and set up and hopefully not disturb anybody. I can't wait to see what it looks like when it's all finished. I did see some of the rooms I think are finished upstairs, which are fantastic. This is a Lehigh Valley event that has become just something that a lot of people always look forward to. It's a tradition. I would think that, and it's fantastic to be able to see in some of these historic homes where otherwise, you wouldn't have that opportunity. It's just, I don't know, there's something really great about, at least to me, like going to somewhere in your own neighborhood and acting as a tourist in that sense, and I love it. And I love all the activities. There's people coming in with photos now. We better get out of here. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming on today. We're looking forward to not only the SOTA showcase with Greenleaf, but also to all the upcoming events at the Allentown Art Museum. And it's fantastic that the admission will soon be free, and we can't wait to get there again. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Talking to us today.
Thank you again to Max, Valerie, Jill, Diane, everybody who was there running around that house, who gave us about an hour to sit there and talk. That was really nice of them. It was beautiful. I hope that you can get out there. Again, visit SOTAPA.org to learn more about this year's Society of the Arts show house, Greenleaf, in West Allentown. Big thank you again to our sponsors who make all this possible, made possible in Lehigh Valley. LehighValleyMadePossible.com, Molly's Irish Grill and Sports Pub in South Bethlehem, ArtsQuest, ArtsQuest.org, and of course, Michael Bernadyn with Remax Realty. Find Mike and you're going to find your new home. Thank you again. This is fantastic. We look forward to doing more episodes this summer, and we will talk to you next week.